My brother got my wife pregnant while I worked 70-hour weeks, and my mom helped hide it, so I exposed every lie at a dinner they'll never forget.
So I, a 28-year-old male, build custom motorcycles for people who have stupid amounts of money.
I started this whole thing in my garage 5 years ago with a beat-up Sportster and some basic tools. Now I have a 4,000 square foot shop downtown, 3 employees, and a waiting list that stretches out 18 months. My clients are basically millionaires who collect toys, Fortune 500 CEOs, celebrities, tech executives, people who want something completely unique that screams, I have so much money I can pay someone to build my exact vision from scratch. Sophie, 26-year-old female, comes from money. Her family owns Romano Auto Group, a chain of 12 luxury car dealerships across 3 states built by her father, Vincent. We met 18 months ago at a charity bike show. Most people just take photos, but Sophie asked real technical questions. She seemed genuinely into the craft, not just the money. After a few weeks of dating, she started visiting the shop. She brought coffee, asked about projects, and never complained. Clients liked her too. She was great at remembering personal details, which helped me build trust with them. That kind of relationship building is everything in custom motorcycle work. It is not just about the bikes, it is about connections. We were together 18 months, engaged for 4, with a spring wedding planned at her family's exclusive country club. It felt like we were building something real. Last Saturday changed everything. And I mean everything. I was at the Steel Horse Rally, this massive bike show that draws serious collectors from all over the country. Sophie came along to help with the booth and handle the crowd while I talked shop with potential clients. Around noon, she stepped outside to take what she called a quick family call. She said something about coordinating with her mom about wedding planning details. I was adjusting the lighting on the panhead display when I heard her voice through the thin convention center walls. These old buildings, the walls might as well be cardboard. Mom, he has absolutely no clue what we are really setting up here. I stopped what I was doing. Her mom, Patricia, handles sales operations for Romano Auto Group, so I figured they were talking about catering or venue stuff for the wedding. Really though, does James actually think you are just interested in motorcycles? Patricia's voice was sharp, focused, like she was in a board meeting. Sophie laughed, but it was not the warm sound I had fallen for over the past year and a half. This was cold, calculating. Please, James is skilled. I will give him that. But he is completely focused on the mechanical side. He has zero awareness of the business opportunities he is sitting on. My hands went still on the display lights. Business opportunities? What business opportunities? These are not just motorcycle clients, Mom. These are millionaires who collect toys, tech executives, pharmaceutical company owners, entertainment industry people. They do not just buy bikes. They buy cars, boats, planes, whatever catches their eye. The convention noise around me, people talking, engines revving, music from other displays, it all faded to background static. And James has their complete trust, Patricia said. Exactly. He builds their dream bikes, spends months working with them on every detail. They see him as this authentic craftsman who understands their vision. They trust his recommendations completely. I stood there among my custom builds, surrounded by machines I had poured my soul into creating, watching my entire relationship reframe itself in real time. So once you are married, you are not just some car salesperson cold calling millionaires. You are the wife of their trusted motorcycle builder, right? Every custom bike James delivers becomes a warm introduction to someone with serious disposable income. Every satisfied client becomes a potential luxury car sale. Dad's numbers show we could move an additional 50 high-end vehicles annually just from James' existing relationships. The piece of metal I was holding slipped from my hands and hit the concrete floor with a sound like a gunshot. A couple of people looked over, but I barely noticed. What about when he catches on? He will not, Sophie said with complete confidence. James thinks with his hands, not his head. He sees a beautiful motorcycle. I see a networking opportunity with someone who has $200,000 to spend on toys. He is too grease monkey minded to think like a business person. They kept talking for another 10 minutes about market penetration and client conversion strategies, something about how many luxury vehicles they could move through strategic relationship building and leveraging existing trust networks. I heard every word, more from shock than any kind of planning. When Sophie finally came back inside, I was calmly adjusting the bike positioning like nothing had happened. My hands were steady. My voice was normal, but inside, everything had shifted. How is it going in here? She asked, with that bright smile I had trusted completely for 18 months. Good crowd, I managed to say. I cannot wait until we are married, she said, squeezing my hand. Think of all the amazing people we will meet through your work. She was right about meeting amazing people, just not the way she planned. So, 2 weeks later, I am stuck playing this bizarre double act. Sophie is still doing her supportive fiancé routine while I am pretending to be the clueless grease monkey. This performance is getting exhausting. The hardest part is that she has actually gotten better at the act since the bike show. It is like she is doubling down on being the perfect girlfriend now that wedding season is approaching. Yesterday, she brought me lunch at the shop, homemade sandwiches, my favorite chips, and even remembered I like my coffee black. She sat there watching me work on this vintage shovelhead restoration, asking all the right questions about the rebuild process. But now I am hearing everything differently. When she asks about the client, I know she is gathering intel. When she compliments my craftsmanship, I know she is thinking about how to sell it to her family's customers. When she talks about our future together, I know she means their business expansion plans. The worst part happened yesterday. She suggested I reconnect with Matthew Chen, this tech entrepreneur who commissioned a custom electric bike conversion last year. He dropped $85,000 on what was basically a science project, but the guy has vision. Sophie sat there all casual, picking at her salad and said, "You two really connected during that build. Maybe we should have him and his wife over for dinner sometime." My internal thought was, let me start working my magic on a guy who clearly has money to burn on expensive toys. I played along perfectly. That is a great idea. Matthew is cool people. I will reach out soon. What I did not mention is that I had already called Matthew that morning, not for dinner, but for something way more useful. After the audio wake-up call at the bike show, I looked into Romano Auto Group. It turns out they have a pattern: get close to successful business owners, extract client info, then undercut or steal their customers. I found 3 custom car builders, a luxury boat dealer, and 2 high-end gun shop owners. All had the same story. Romano's people played friendly, learned the business, then used it against them. And guess whose business Romano tried to infiltrate 6 months ago? Guess who had to hire lawyers when Vincent started casually reaching out to Matthew's clients about their transportation needs? I called him from this diner outside town, somewhere neutral where I could talk freely. "James Morrison," he said when he picked up. "Good to hear from you, man. How is that Sportster project coming along?" See, Matthew is working on this side project. He wants to build a custom Sportster for weekend rides. We have been talking about it for months, planning out the modifications, sourcing parts. The guy has specific ideas about what he wants. Actually, Matthew, I am calling about something else. I have information about Romano Auto Group that I think you would find really interesting. A long pause, like really long. Then, I am all ears, brother. I sent him the audio file that afternoon. It took about 20 minutes to upload the whole thing. My phone recording was not great quality, but it was clear enough. Matthew called back within an hour. "Holy crap, James. Do you realize what you just handed me? Evidence that they have been using personal relationships to steal business intelligence. Evidence that explains how they knew about my client meetings before I even had them. They did not just try to poach my customers. They somehow had inside information about private consulting contracts. I always wondered how they managed that. By the end of our conversation, we had a plan, not just payback justice. These people had been systematically destroying independent businesses by weaponizing personal relationships. It was time to show them how that strategy works when it backfires. The motorcycle community is tight-knit, especially at the custom level. When builders find out they have been played, word spreads through every shop, every rally, every online forum. It is like a network effect, but instead of spreading good recommendations, it spreads warnings about people who cannot be trusted. Matthew started reaching out to people he knew, and so did I. The beautiful thing about the custom vehicle world is that reputation is everything. These are not mass market customers. They are collectors, enthusiasts, people who care about craftsmanship and authenticity. When they find out someone has been running a con game, they do not just stop doing business with them. They make sure everyone else knows about it too. We are not trying to destroy Romano's dealerships. That would hurt innocent employees who probably have no idea what Vincent and Patricia have been doing. We are doing something more targeted. We are going to make them irrelevant in the custom vehicle world, cut them off from the high-end clients they have been trying to exploit. Sophie thinks she is marrying into my professional network. What she does not realize is that my network is about to discover exactly who the Romano family really is. The funny part is that she has been pushing harder on the networking angle since the bike show. 3 days ago, she suggested I should really get to know the Peterson family on a personal level. They commissioned this insane custom chopper last year, a $200,000 build with more chrome than a Las Vegas casino. They seem like such interesting people, Sophie said. Maybe we could have them over for a barbecue or something. Right, let me just invite my clients over so you can start your luxury car sales pitch in my backyard. I agreed enthusiastically and said I would mention it next time I talked to them. What I did not say is that I had already warned the Petersons about what to expect if Sophie ever approached them about anything car related. Yesterday, I was working late on a custom tank fabrication when Sophie stopped by the shop. She does this sometimes, brings coffee and sits in the corner while I work. I used to think it was sweet, her taking interest in my craft. Now, I know she is probably taking mental notes about everything she sees and hears. Busy day? She asked, settling into the folding chair I keep by my workbench. Yeah, good busy though. Got 3 builds in progress, 2 more starting next month. That is amazing. Your reputation is really growing. It is the work that speaks for itself, I said, not looking up from the metal I was shaping. People appreciate quality craftsmanship. They also appreciate working with someone they can trust, she said. That is probably the most important part. The irony was so thick I could have cut it with my plasma torch. Trust is everything in this business, I agreed. Once people know they can rely on you, word spreads fast. Exactly, and word spreads the other way too, if someone proves they cannot be trusted. I looked up at her then, wondering if she was testing me somehow, trying to figure out if I suspected anything. But her expression was completely innocent, just making conversation about business philosophy. That is when I realized how good she is at this. 18 months of practice lying to my face, and she has gotten really comfortable with it. It makes me wonder how many other people she has run this kind of game on, how many other relationships she has treated like business opportunities. The motorcycle builder who creates one-of-a-kind machines just created a one-of-a-kind problem for some very greedy people, and they have no idea what is coming. Matthew was not kidding about his connections. He has been making rounds sharing my audio file with shop owners who have had mysterious business problems over the past few years. Iron Horse Customs was the first to respond. When Tommy, the owner, heard the recording, everything clicked. Romano had forced them into bankruptcy 2 years ago by underbidding every major contract with eerily precise details about pricing, parts, and client behavior. Tommy had kept records of it all. Within days, he was on the phone with his lawyer about reopening a business interference case. But here is where it gets interesting. While all this legal stuff is brewing in the background, Sophie has no clue any of it is happening. She has been busy planning our wedding and dropping increasingly obvious hints about which clients I should really develop relationships with. 4 nights ago, she brought up the Blackstone commission I am starting next month. Robert Blackstone, tech executive. Sophie was sitting there during dinner, twirling pasta around her fork like she was discussing the weather. He seems like such an interesting person, she said. Really successful, obviously wealthy. Maybe I could come by when he is picking up the bike, meet him properly. The casual way she said it was almost artistic, like she just happened to be curious about meeting my client, not planning to size him up for a luxury car sale. I agreed immediately. Great idea. I am sure he would enjoy meeting you. Robert Blackstone already knows everything. Matthew handles some of his business consulting, and Robert has heard the recording. He knows exactly what Sophie is planning to do when they meet. More importantly, he is planning to document the whole interaction. See, Robert did not get rich by accident. He is the kind of guy who thinks 3 moves ahead and keeps detailed records of everything. When Matthew explained what the Romano family had been doing to local businesses, Robert got very interested in helping set a trap. The beautiful thing about wealthy collectors is they talk to each other. Robert is connected to every high-end client in my network, either directly or through mutual connections. Word about Romano's business practices is spreading through their circles faster than gossip at a country club. Yesterday brought something I was not expecting. Sophie's dad, Vincent, called my shop directly, not through Sophie, not through family channels, but a direct call to Morrison Custom Motorcycles during business hours. James, my boy, he said in that friendly tone that probably works on people who have not heard his daughter call them simple-minded. I was wondering if we could grab lunch, man to man, talk about some business opportunities. Business opportunities. The same phrase Sophie used when she was explaining to her mom how they planned to exploit my client relationships. I accepted, obviously, when someone is about to reveal their entire strategy, you let them talk. We met at Romano's corporate office. You know, James, he said while showing off photos of himself with various celebrities and politicians, successful men understand that business is about relationships, building networks, creating partnerships that benefit everyone involved. Absolutely, I agreed. Mutual benefit is everything. Exactly. And with your relationships in the custom motorcycle world, your reputation with these wealthy collectors combined with our sales infrastructure. He gestured toward the showroom floor like he was presenting the crown jewels. The possibilities are endless. Then he laid out their entire strategy, how my client relationships would feed their luxury car sales, how Sophie's natural social skills would be perfect for client development, how my motorcycle business could become lead generation for automotive sales. The guy spent 2 hours explaining in detail how he planned to exploit my professional relationships for his family's profit. We are not just gaining a son-in-law, he said, pointing to a wall of sales awards. We are gaining a business partner who brings exactly the clientele we want to reach. I nodded appreciatively. Partnership makes sense. You get it. Most young guys think small. They focus on their craft instead of the bigger picture. But you understand business. You see the potential. The whole time, my phone was recording everything from my shirt pocket. 2 hours of Vincent Romano explaining how Sophie's engagement to me was strategic business development disguised as romance. When I got back to the shop, Sophie had called 3 times and left multiple texts asking how the meeting went. She was trying to sound casual, but I could hear the eagerness in her voice when I called back. How was your meeting with Dad? She asked. Very enlightening, I said. He shared some interesting ideas about business expansion. What kind of idea? I think he should explain his vision to you directly, family strategy and all. She pressed for details, but I kept deflecting. I let her wonder what Daddy had revealed. I let her stress about whether their target was getting suspicious about the whole operation. The thing that gets me is how confident they are about this whole scheme. Vincent spent our entire lunch assuming I would be thrilled to learn about their plans. Like I should be grateful for the opportunity to have my life's work turned into their sales funnel. Sophie is the same way. She genuinely believes she is doing me a favor by introducing me to her family's business acumen. Like I am some kind of naive craftsman who needs their sophisticated guidance to understand the real value of what I have built. They see my relationships with clients as assets to be leveraged, not friendships and professional connections built on mutual respect and shared passion for motorcycles. To them, every custom build I deliver is just a warm introduction to someone with disposable income. Tomorrow, Robert Blackstone comes by to check progress on his dyno build and discuss some modifications he wants. Sophie is planning to stop by the shop around the same time to see how the project is developing. She has no idea she is walking into a carefully planned demonstration of exactly how her family's business practices look from the victim's perspective. She showed up at my shop right on schedule, looking polished and professional, with her tablet in hand, hair perfect, and an outfit calculated to look approachable but expensive. She was ready to transform a simple bike pickup into her personal networking opportunity, completely clueless that Matthew had briefed Robert on exactly what to expect. I was putting finishing touches on Robert's dyno when he arrived. He walked around it slowly, checking every detail, nodding appreciatively at the craftsmanship. This is incredible work, James. You have outdone yourself. That is when Sophie made her entrance. She was not obvious about it, she just happened to be stopping by to see how things were going. She introduced herself to Robert with that warm smile that had fooled me for 18 months. Robert played his part perfectly. You must be James' fiancé. Matthew mentioned you were interested in the automotive industry. Sophie's eyes lit up like she just spotted a winning lottery ticket. Yes, I am hoping to get more involved in luxury vehicle sales. I would love to hear about your experience with different brands. Well, Robert said casually, pulling out his phone. Why do not you tell me about Romano Auto Group first? Matthew shared some interesting information about your family's business practices. I watched Sophie's face change as Robert hit play on Matthew's audio compilation, not just my original recording from the bike show, but Vincent's office confessions and testimonials from other affected business owners, all edited together into a comprehensive exposé of Romano manipulation tactics. The sound quality was crystal clear. Sophie's voice explaining her client conversion strategy. Vincent detailing how they plan to exploit my relationships. Patricia discussing market penetration through strategic marriage positioning. All of it. This is you, is not it? Robert asked as Sophie's recorded voice filled my shop, discussing how you plan to exploit James's customer relationships for car sales. Sophie went pale, then red, then pale again, like watching someone cycle through every stage of panic in real time. She tried to grab for Robert's phone, but he smoothly stepped back. That is taken completely out of context, she stammered. James is overreacting to some casual family conversation. This is private information that was recorded illegally. Robert Blackstone did not get worth $200 million by being easily fooled. Actually, this sounds like a systematic business strategy to exploit personal relationships for corporate gain. Matthew has shown me documentation of similar tactics your family used against other local businesses. That is when I stepped forward, still holding a shop rag, keeping my voice completely calm. Our relationship is fine, Sophie. I just thought Robert should understand what kind of business arrangement he would be supporting if he worked with Romano Auto Group. Sophie completely lost it. She started screaming about illegal recordings, about me being jealous of her family's success, about how I destroyed her future over nothing. The nothing part was rich. 18 months of systematic deception apparently qualifies as nothing in her world. You are psychotic, she screamed, tears streaming down her face. I loved you. We were going to build something amazing together, and you have ruined everything because your fragile ego could not handle that my family is successful. Robert was filming the whole meltdown on his phone, not even trying to hide it. Sophie was so caught up in her rage that she did not notice, or maybe she was past caring. This is not about your family's success, I said, still calm. This is about using fake relationships to steal business intelligence. Fake relationships? We have been together for over a year. I was going to marry you. You were going to marry my client list. There is a difference. That is when she completely snapped. She started throwing things, grabbed a wrench off my workbench, and hurled it at the wall. She kicked over a trash can and screamed something about how I would pay for this betrayal. Robert just kept filming. When Sophie finally stormed out, slamming the shop door so hard it rattled the windows, he looked at me and grinned. Well, that was educational. I am definitely sharing this with my network. Within hours, the video was circulating through business networks and motorcycle forums, not just locally. This thing went regional, then national. It turns out the story of a custom motorcycle builder exposing his fiancée's family business scam resonated with a lot of people. The fallout hit immediately. Tommy's lawsuit was joined by other shop owners who had been screwed by Romano's tactics. The business interference case gained serious momentum when prosecutors realized the pattern might constitute organized fraud, but the real damage was reputational. The custom vehicle world is surprisingly connected at the high end. Everyone knows everyone, and trust is everything. Within days, Romano went from respected dealership group to industry liability. Vincent called me that evening, his voice shaking with rage. You little snake, he said. Do you have any idea what you have done? That video is everywhere. Our reputation is destroyed. Your reputation destroyed itself, Vincent. I just documented it. 20 years building this business and you ruined it over hurt feelings. Sophie is devastated. Patricia is getting calls from our board of directors demanding explanations. The next morning brought Patricia to my shop looking like she had not slept, expensive suit wrinkled, makeup smudged. The kind of desperation that money cannot fix. You have humiliated our entire family, she said, hands shaking. Sophie is my daughter. How could you do this to her? I did not do anything to Sophie. I exposed what she was doing to me. She loved you. This was just business strategy. Smart families think strategically. You have blown everything out of proportion. That was the moment I realized they still did not get it. Even with their world crashing down around them, they saw the problem as my reaction, not their actions. To them, 18 months of systematic deception was just business strategy. Patricia, your daughter spent a year and a half lying to me about her intentions. Your family tried to turn my professional relationships into your sales pipeline. That is not strategy. That is fraud. She tried the guilt trip angle. Do you know what this is doing to Sophie? She is getting death threats online. People are calling her every name in the book. She is my baby, and you have destroyed her. Sophie destroyed herself when she decided to treat our relationship like a business acquisition. Patricia left without another word, probably realizing that playing the victim was not going to work on someone who had recordings of their actual plans. The engagement ring, Sophie threw it at me during her shop meltdown, screaming something about how I could keep it as a reminder of what I had lost. I sold it that week and donated the money to a small business legal defense fund. It seemed like the right move. The beautiful thing about the motorcycle community is that word travels fast about both good and bad actors. Within 2 weeks, every custom shop, every high-end collector, every serious builder knew exactly what the Romano family had been trying to do. They went from being connected insiders to complete outsiders overnight. Their custom vehicle expansion plans did not just fail, they became impossible. Sometimes the best revenge is not planned. Sometimes it is just giving people enough rope to hang themselves, then making sure everyone gets to see the show. 2 weeks after the Blackstone video went viral, the Romano family is in full panic mode. Their idea of damage control, threats, lawyers, and more of the same entitled behavior that got them into this mess in the first place. It started with a letter from Romano's corporate attorney, some prestigious firm with a name that takes up half the letterhead. The thing was basically legal intimidation disguised as professional correspondence. They were claiming defamation, unlawful recording, and intentional interference with business relationships. They demanded I cease and desist all harmful activities and pay damages for reputational harm. The amount they wanted, $2 million for emotional distress and business losses directly resulting from malicious actions. I forwarded the whole thing to my cousin who practices law downtown. He read it and started laughing so hard. James, this is what we call a SLAPP suit, strategic lawsuit against public participation. They are trying to scare you with legal fees to shut you up. Can they actually do that? They can try, but everything you shared was true. Truth is an absolute defense to defamation. Plus, they are the ones who called you in the first place. He helped me draft a response that basically said, prove it or shut up, in fancy legal language, something about how they did have to demonstrate actual malice and false statements, which would be difficult considering I had recordings of them admitting to everything. That is when Sophie decided to escalate things personally.
Last Thursday around 9 p.m., I heard pounding on my front door like someone was trying to break it down, not knocking, but full-on hammering with both fists.
I looked through the peephole and saw Sophie standing there, face red with fury, still in business clothes like she had driven straight from wherever she had been. I opened the door and she immediately started screaming, "How could you do this to me, James? How could you destroy my entire life over nothing? My neighbors were definitely getting a show over nothing?" I kept my voice calm, which seemed to make her even angrier. "Sophie, you spent months planning to exploit my business relationships for your family's profit. That is not what it was. You are twisting everything. We could have had an amazing life together, and you threw it all away because your ego could not handle that my family is successful." She was loud enough that I am pretty sure the whole block heard every word. "You humiliated me in front of everyone," Sophie continued, tears mixing with rage. "That video is everywhere. My friends have seen it. Our clients have seen it. Do you know what you have done to our reputation? I know exactly what I have done. I have shown people who you really are. Who I really am. Yes, there were business advantages, but that does not mean I did not care about you." The business advantages line was perfect. Even in her rage, she could not help but frame our relationship in terms of corporate strategy. "Sophie, you called me a grease monkey who was too simple to understand business. You said I was easy to manage because of my modest background. You planned to turn my client relationships into your family's sales pipeline. Those were just words, private words. You had no right to record me." She tried switching tactics, going from anger to desperate pleading. "We can fix this, James. The video will fade away. People will forget. We can still get married. Still build something together." "Build what? A relationship based on 18 months of lies? Not lies. Strategy. Every successful couple makes strategic decisions together." That is when it really hit me. She still did not get it. Even with her world collapsing around her, Sophie could not understand the difference between partnership and exploitation. To her, treating me like a business asset was just strategic thinking. "You need to leave, Sophie. You are going to regret this," she screamed as she walked back to her BMW. "My family has connections and resources you cannot imagine. We will make you pay for what you have done to us." She peeled out of my driveway, tires squealing loud enough to wake the dead. I was left in my quiet neighborhood to return to normal while I dealt with concerned neighbors asking if everything was okay. The next morning brought a new legal letter. This one threatening a lawsuit for emotional distress, business interference, and violation of privacy. They wanted damages, injunctions, and basically everything short of my firstborn child. My cousin read through it and shook his head. They are throwing everything at the wall to see what sticks. "But James, emotional distress claims are hard to prove when the plaintiff is the one who initiated the fraudulent behavior. What about the violation of privacy angle? They called you. You answered. Conversation happened in a public space during a business call. They do not have much ground to stand on." 3 days later, Vincent himself showed up at my shop. Not angry this time. He was trying to play the reasonable businessman angle. He probably figured the legal threats were not working. Time to try negotiation. "James, this has gone too far," he said, looking around at my bikes like he was appraising inventory. "We are family now, or we were supposed to be. Family solves problems together. It does not air dirty laundry in public. We are not family, Vincent. We never were. I was just your daughter's business acquisition project. You are being dramatic. Sophie cares about you deeply. We all do. But you have hurt us badly with this recording situation." "The recording situation? Like it was some kind of technical glitch instead of evidence of systematic fraud. Vincent, you spent 2 hours explaining how Sophie's marriage to me was really a corporate expansion strategy." He waved his hand dismissively. "Business talk, brainstorming sessions. You took casual conversation too seriously. Casual conversation about exploiting my client relationships for luxury car sales and smart families thinking strategically? That does not mean the feelings were not real. I realized they were going to keep coming at me with threats, lawyers, and guilt trips until they got a message they could not misinterpret. It was time to send it clearly. Vincent, I am going to say this once. Your family tried to run a con on me. You got caught. The consequences are yours to deal with. If you, Sophie, or your lawyers contact me again, I will release the full recordings, every conversation, every admission, every detail of your schemes, to the press. His face went pale. You would not dare try me. He left without another word, probably realizing that threatening someone who has hours of damaging audio evidence is not the smartest negotiation strategy. The lawsuit threats disappeared the next week. It turns out the possibility of even more embarrassing revelations made them reconsider their legal approach. It is amazing how quickly people back down when they realize their victim has better documentation than their lawyers do. 3 months after everything exploded, I am finally getting some peace. The Romano family learned the hard way that when you try to manipulate someone who documents everything, you better make sure you are not the one being recorded. Sophie made one final attempt at reconciliation last month, this time by letter. It arrived in a thick envelope, her handwriting on the front like nothing had changed. Inside was a handwritten note on expensive stationery. No apology, just polished manipulation. James, this has gone on long enough. I am willing to forgive you for the recording incident if you can admit you overreacted. We both said things in anger, but I never stopped caring. I hope you can find it in your heart to move past the misunderstanding and remember what we had. The audacity. She was willing to forgive me for catching her in the act. I kept my response simple. Sophie, you spent over a year pretending to love me while plotting with your family to exploit my business. You called me simple-minded, saw my clients as assets to poach, and thought I would never find out. This was not a misunderstanding. It was a long con. You were not the victim. You were the architect. We are done. Stay away from me, my shop, and my clients. If your family tries any more legal games or manipulations, I will make sure every business owner in this region knows exactly how the Romanos operate. She did not reply. No second letter, no surprise visits, just silence. I watched her vanish the same way she entered, polished, practiced, and pretending to care. I kept one thing from the whole mess, a photo Sophie had taken of me working on a custom panhead last spring. She had captured this moment where I was completely focused on the engine work, totally absorbed in the craftsmanship. At the time, I thought she took it because she appreciated my passion for the work. Now I realize she probably took it as documentation for her family's business planning, evidence of the grease monkey they were planning to exploit. But looking at that photo reminds me of something important. I was genuine throughout our entire relationship. I loved what I thought we had. I worked hard to build something real.